Yes, here we go. So let's get rolling. There we go. Alrighty. So this 2% mindset, as I call it, I posted this on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn almost every day. I try to be, diligent. I try to be regular. I just love the connection and I love the information that is shared. So I posted this on LinkedIn and it created such a conversation, such a deep conversation. I posted it on Facebook and likewise. So I said, okay, this is a conversation that needs to be had and this is some information that I could share because of the interest in it. So as I move on, I want you to focus first as we go forward on what's on the outside of the circle. Yeah, so just take a little sneak peek of that, what's on the outside of the circle first, and then zero in on the inside. So as we go forward, we will start from the outside. Let me just give you a little idea of who I am. As I said, I am an HR consultant, corporate trainer, the list is there. I'm not into long bios, so you could get a sneak peek of me. I totally enjoy what I'm doing. I always tell people I am the accidental entrepreneur, having been, I call it nicely, involuntarily separated from my position in an organization and not knowing where I was going or what to do. I just happened to become an HR consultant, and that was 7 years ago. So for me, it has been a journey of a lot of lessons, life lessons. And when I look back to see, what made a difference in terms of how I approach the most challenging episode in my career. And when I look back, I realize it definitely was my mindset. I have always been the eternal optimist and always look for the bright side and opportunities. This is who we are as a company. This is what we love to do. We say that we focus on people's and companies, their purpose, whether it's a company or individual. It's so important that we know our purpose, because our purpose and our why is what keeps us going when the journey gets a little tough and a little difficult. So this is what we do. It is work for some, it is work for us, but for us it's a deeper work, it's a deeper job, because we recognize from feedback that we have the opportunity to touch employees right there in the organizations. And if I tell you, quite briefly that, I was delivering a customer service training program, and when we had a session with attitude, how to have a positive attitude, and when somebody came back and said, that it changed their life, just trying to have a positive attitude for a week changed their life, I realized that we were onto something and our approach was different. So we like to say that we are making a difference and that we are helping people tap into their best self, one person at a time. So let's just mosey on a bit. If I could find my way forward. That's too forward. So this is how we love to end our training sessions. We love our connections, we love to have fun, and we learn at the same time. So for us, it's really finding the best in individuals so that they can appreciate themselves and bring their best selves to work or wherever they may be. Now, as we go back to the 2%, do we recognize what's here? Anybody recognize the fruits? Some call it West Indian cherry. Some call it the Bajan, Barbados cherry. And I remember as a child coming home, excited to come home from school. I was in primary school. And we lived about 2 blocks, in fact, not about, we lived exactly 2 blocks away from the school. And I remember being excited to come home And my excitement was nothing more than to raid the cherry tree in the backyard. Yeah, just out our back door, the steps, the cherry tree was right there. So it was very easy to stand up on the railing and stretch my feet over and my arms over to the cherry tree, pull myself up, climb the cherry tree. And the highlight of the afternoon for me was climbing on the roof of the house and just sitting down because the branches are all there. The cherries are getting the bright sun, the hot sun. They really turn black. We know the darker the red, the sweeter the juice of the cherry. So really get those black cherries. And as I put it in my mouth, I will just sit down and and just have my cherries, enjoy my quiet time, survey the neighborhood, the other houses, and enjoy my black cherries. And of course, by the time I come down on the tree, if anybody have climbed a West Indian cherry tree before, you're all itchy because there's something on the branches that make you itch. So after enjoying the cherries, I knew it's straight to the shower if I needed to survive. And, although I had to stretch across, there's a distance probably, let's say about 2 feet, 3 feet that I had to stretch across, had to stretch across too. But not once did I think that I might fall. I had the confidence to know that I could climb this tree, although none of my sisters climbed trees in the hole. But for me, I knew I could have climbed that tree. So at an early age, I was confident in my abilities. And I want you to think back to when you were a child. What are some of the things that you did that just colored confidence? Think about when you were a child. There's always something we do as a child, as children, that speaks to confidence, speaks to being bold. I don't want to say fearless too much because fearless might seem reckless, but for sure we were confident in what we were doing. And somewhere along the line, as we grew older, our confidence waned. And we started, our confidence when we were younger, we were in that realm of, doing it in spite of the fear. We were in that realm of being confident, of living a so-called limitless life. Think about the things you did as a child for those who had those risky moments. Yeah. And as we grew older, we kind of shift focus. Now, the thing is, how do we shift focus? How did we get where we are today from being that child who will, climb a tree, go on the roof, ask me to go on a roof now, and I'll tell you definitely not, not even with a ladder. How do we shift from that child, that innocence of being fully confident in ourselves and our abilities of what we can achieve? How do we move from there to now where sometimes we second guess ourselves, where sometimes we have this self-talk that is more negative, not necessarily more negative, but definitely there's an element of negativity in there, and science will show us and will tell us and will reveal for us that if you keep saying something, if you keep telling somebody something long enough, often enough, they will believe it. Think about yourself. If anybody have told you anything at all, it may have been, I could remember that, again, as a teenager, people would say, oh, Charlene, you can't sing. And for many years, when our cousins would come over and sing, and back in those days, the song Ben by Michael Jackson was the hit. Ben, the two of us, they want to break out in a song now. But I remember my cousins coming over and singing that song, and I would just keep quiet because I've been told that I could not sing. Years after, I decided, oh, what the heck, I'm going to join the church choir and the church chorale. And, it's church, so they'll take people like me. So I joined and I started to sing, and it gave me such fulfillment to sing in church, and it allowed me to break those barriers of what was told to me, to change my mindset. Now, many times we tell ourselves we have a lot of negative self-talk. Um, even if we don't want to lose weight, we talk to ourselves in a negative way that, either we're too big, or we are not bright enough. We're not experienced enough for that job, so we don't apply for the job. I could bet you that if you look at a vacancy for a position, I know I'm 99% sure that when you look at that vacancy and you look at the requirements and you start to zero in, I'm 99% sure that you zero in on the skills or the experience you think you do not have. It's just innate in us. We start to tick off what we do not have. So we keep focusing on the negative, and then we just don't apply for the position. And we just would not know until we try. So it's the self-talk, the negative self-talk that creates our mindset. Again, sometimes we say we can't paint, or we can't get this done because we are a procrastinator, or, we'll never be good in business. We can't do numbers. I mean, I'm here to tell you, everything is in your mind. The numbers, I know of a young lady now, 18, and when she was in primary school, she kept saying, I cannot do math. I cannot do math. Daddy, mommy, I cannot do math. And she was getting low grades. And why she said she could not do math is because everyone around her said math is hard. They can't do math. They can't work out the questions. Math is hard. And I'm sure you have been in school where the chorus is math is hard. You can't do the sums. But I remember that her father said, of course you could get this done. Of course you can. Let's sit down and go through the questions and do it over. Let's practice. I'm sure you could get it done. And so they practice and they practice. And they practice and they practice. And in the end, when she did her exam, she was able to get in the 90s for her math exam. And I could share that story with you because that young lady is in this house right now. That's my younger daughter. And that story told me and was a lesson that, again, who we surround ourselves with, the chorus of voices that keeps telling us who we are, after a while we believe it. And that's how we move from the child who will risk and be adventurous and have the confidence. And that's how we move from there to start second guessing ourselves. And the question is, if we recognize that how our brains work, as I said, research will tell us that after a while we start to believe it. Sometimes we wonder why people don't leave, even sometimes abusive situations, because there's such a thing as psychological abuse. And sometimes people are weighed down by what is said and what they internalize, and they see it as themselves. So understanding that the way our mind works, that's how we know we can move from one realm into the other. And, generally people would say that, when you hear what people say, they tell you what's in their head. And I say no. I say it's the words that define, that shapes who we are. And we don't shape the words that we say. The words, the narrative that's in our head, the narrative that we believe, that is who will shape us. And therefore, we have to be very careful of what we take in. And we have to be intentional with what we read, with who we surround ourselves with, if we want to move from that mindset of being afraid, being overly cautious, and really not living the life that we want. Because at first we start to limit ourselves even before we begin, before the journey has begun. I go back to looking at the vacancy. We talk ourselves out of not applying for that job. Nobody else. So we have to be very careful what we tell ourselves. And if we understand that, let me go this way. Oh, this is that I wanted really to share with you, because for me it's mind blowing. Now, I shared this in a training program already, and I had asked individuals to draw. I can't remember particularly what the task was, what the exercise was, but they had to draw. And somebody replicated this. And for some of us, it may seem, I don't know, a head, a skull, something that probably a child would draw. But this was one of a famous artist, and this was sold for how many millions in an auction. Actually, it fetched the highest price for a painting yet. So, understanding that we have to understand our gifts, our personal power, and dig deep in and build on that. Because the average person is going to look at this painting and say, I could probably do that. My 5-year-old could probably do that. But it's having the confidence in your power and starting to create a tribe to appreciate your power and your skill. I wanted to share too, when we talk about power, when we talk about skill, when we talk about how we speak to ourselves, our self-talk. If science tells us that our self-talk has an impact on us, that our brain is like Play-Doh, and after a while, the message, the narrative shapes our conversation, it shapes our perception, it shapes our confidence, what we think we can achieve, and in the end, it shapes who we think we are. The good news is that science has recently found out about brain plasticity. It's just like that we can literally, and the science will tell us, you could research it when we're through, the science will tell us that now we can actually rewire our brain. So we can move from being in a state of well, somebody once I was speaking to says a state of boredom. Their life is boring. It's day in, day out doing the same thing. There's no excitement. There is nothing to wake up for in the morning. We can move from that state to a state where we are excited. You may be tired because there's so many things that you have to do, but where you can be excited of the things that you have to do, where you can be excited of the promise of tomorrow, because you know you have so much potential. You know that you have that percentage where you can take your calculated risk. And hell, sometimes the risk not even well calculated, but we take it all the same. So science has told us that we can rewire our brains. And there are a few things that we can do to do that. And one of the simple things that we know, from a while, from long back, is again that self-talk, but in a positive way, what we know as affirmations. Think about it. When for those who like to post on social media, when you're looking good, whether you're going to, out to dinner, to a party, or you just dressed up and you're heading out for a drive, but you're looking good. So the first thing you're reaching for is your phone, because you want to make sure you take that selfie, or you say, take a picture for me, so that you could get your snapshot to put it on social media. And what does that do for you? It makes you feel good because you're looking good. That's another way. What you're really doing there It's reinforcing that you feel good about yourself. So the same way you do that, you can use those affirmations in the morning to get your day going, or even in the night. You know, what do you like about yourself? It's an exercise that I do in one of my sessions. And I ask people to list 10 things that they love about themselves. Some people boldfacedly will tell me, Charlene, there's only 10 you want. I could go on, you know. I said, just give me 10. And then there's some people who will stick at 4, 5, and will pause. So we go back to the self-talk. So we can use affirmations to boost our confidence. You know, say that you got it today. Whatever come your way, you can handle it. If you have a spiritual persuasion, you know you can talk to your God in the morning. Because with your God by your side, you know that both of you are going to handle whatever come your way. If there are things that you're uncertain about, whether you meditation, whether prayer. So one of the things you can do to kind of change that mindset is affirmations, and then there's meditation and prayer. So that you're boosting yourself, particularly at the beginning of the day, so that you can boost yourself for the day. Now, the thing is, you know, I usually ask people, so why do you bathe every day? It's because the bath don't last you, well, not even for a day, because some of us take showers 2, 3 times a day. But you shower every day because you need to, you wouldn't survive. For personal hygiene. So the same way, you also eat every day because your body needs the food. Try not eating for a week. So the same way we have to shower, the same way we have to feed our bodies, the same way we want to feed our minds. And in feeding our minds now, we want to make sure that we do so every single day. Feed your mind every single day. Another thing you can do is to surround yourself with people who will build you up and not pull you down. People who would not give you the negative self-talk, well, not self-talk, but negative talk. But people who will definitely, you know, if you're in trouble, they will give you some wisdom and some words that will keep you going. If you doubt yourself, they will definitely keep you going. So those are 2 things that I want to share with you. Another thing before we move on is you could also start doing a journal, which is usually quite useful in terms of celebrating your wins. Now, as we move from one realm to the other, I like to ask people to do a lot of self-reflection, because many times we go through, you know, life, we go through work, and we don't stop to pause. We don't stop to celebrate our small wins. We don't stop to see, you know, what is needed, what are the information we need to take it to the next level. And I'm sharing this because I recently signed up in a mastermind, and I mean, it's a lot of work, but the information I'm receiving for my business is a business mastermind. The information I'm receiving from my business, it is so useful, and it's information that I did not have before and I didn't know before. So I understand that I need to invest in myself to take my business to the next level. And because also that, you know, this program that I'm having is a mastermind, and this program it started to take shape some weeks ago. Probably some weeks ago. And it was only about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, people started to reach out to me, asking for some assistance and guidance. And I've had chats with, you know, numerous people across the seas. And although this was a project that I kind of put on the burner because I was busy with other core work projects, because I realized that there's a need, you know, there's this thing I tell people when I have my online sessions. One of my favorite quotes is, there is something in you the world needs. There is something in you the world needs. And I tell this to everybody, that not to hide your gift away, not to hide it, so tuck it away in your closet, in your pocket. That, we have to find out what our gifts are. And because that's our mission in life, to find out what our gifts are, what are we good at, and then use that to make it better for others. And as I told people this, I realized I was guilty of not making use of my gift. And I said to myself, I'm going to have to make time. I mean, this weekend was a whole weekend of work. Dion can attest to that. And, I will have to make time to get this off the ground. So I am so glad that we are here where we are. We had a waiting list before, and we had people signed up already. We do have about 4 spots. Yes, about 4 spots remaining. And we have developed a framework that will allow individuals under self-leadership. So we'll be looking at your self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-management, and self-growth. So you are going to develop your personal action plan as part of this program. And we're going to have accountability circles so that you will have people to keep you on track. And the thing is, sometimes we try to go alone. I've tried to go alone for some years, and we can't go to the next level. So, without the support. So this mastermind, whatever your goal is, as far as we could support you, point you the right direction, connect you with people that you may need information, whether it's about, setting up your business, accounting, make connections and point you to the right direction, whether you're looking for a mentor. So this program provides that framework for those who would like to take it at another level. Like I said, sometimes we limit ourselves. Sometimes we don't know, we don't know. And that's what I'm discovering for some things. And sometimes we do know that we don't know. And that's why I signed up in the Mastermind Abroad. And this mastermind provides an opportunity to develop your self-leadership skills so that you could really chart using there's a framework I developed, the 7 steps to go, GO, and the GO means goal outcome. So that you are really going to take those 7 steps to go to your goal outcome, and we celebrate our wins. So if you need to connect with me, there's an email, hello@conventusconsulting.com. I am on LinkedIn. I welcome connections on LinkedIn all the time. Once you connect with me, you can direct message me. I mean, that's how I've gotten, all these phone calls, because we started on LinkedIn, we end up direct messaging, and then we end up on a phone call. So I want to thank you this afternoon for, carving out that time, shaving some time out of your Sunday. And I want to also, I want to encourage you to, sometimes our lives take us in different turns, And what I could say for me is that, as the newspaper article said, when I moved from head of an HR department to the front of the unemployment line, the strangest thing, I had gone from a place in my head where I was searching for a job, to a place where I was comfortable in my mind. I didn't know what my next step was, but I was not in a panic mode mentally. And the day I walked out that building, I felt freedom, strange enough. And as I walked out that building, somebody made a phone call, and I had my first meeting with a business owner. And that was the beginning of my consultancy. And that was 7 years ago. And I've learned a lot along the way and a lot from that experience. And one of the things that I learned was to take back control of your situation. Take back the power. The power is yours. Take back the power. So I just leave you with that snippet of my story. And I thank you again for joining us this afternoon. And if you want to connect with me, I am happy to connect with you again. Connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can shoot me an email at hello@conventusconsulting.com. Our mastermind starts next week, Saturday, and I am totally excited to see what it's going to pan out to be. I know, who has what goals, and the journey together. I always tell people I don't position myself as no expert because I'm on a journey also, but I do invite you to journey with me. So again, I want to thank you, and we will stay in touch. Yep. So thank you once again.